Ladies and gentlemen, they finally got around to arresting Daniel Penny. And look at how long it took them to do this in New York over the killing of Jordan Neely. The murderer stayed out all this time. This is just unbelievable, but this is how law enforcement, this is how the system works in America. But, I say this is definitely privilege, and there are those that will claim it's not, but it absolutely is. Ex-Marine charged with a New York subway chokehold death of Jordan Neely. A former U.S. Marine who placed a passenger into a fatal chokehold on the New York subway has appeared in court to be charged with manslaughter. That was murder. That was murder. And it was unprovoked murder. You're claiming he was a threat. You came up from behind and grabbed him and put him in a chokehold. And there were people, because I was watching some of the video, there were people on the train telling him to stop. And he kept right on going, kept right on choking them. If you had to walk up from behind, I don't see how that person was a threat to you. No, his charges really do need to be upgraded, but we know in this society they're not going to do it. They're full of crap. So, Daniel Penny, 24, is accused of causing the death of 30-year-old Jordan Neely on May 1st. He did not enter a plea. His lawyer said that he could not have known his actions to subdue Mr. Neely would lead to his death. You kept him in a chokehold for 15 minutes. That would have killed anybody. 15 minutes? Definitely not the sharpest tool in the shed. Mr. Neely, who was homeless, was pinned to the ground and restrained for several minutes on a train carriage. He had been shouting at other passengers. He was homeless, so you know how homeless people sometimes will ask you for food or they'll ask you for money. That's what he was doing. A lot of homeless people do that. I've been approached by homeless people asking me for food or money, and on occasions I have done it. One time I had just walked out of the restaurant and I had my leftovers in the bag. And a black homeless man had approached me and he was asking if I could give him food. He was really hungry. I gave him my leftovers out of the restaurant. I didn't care. You know, I figured he could use it way more than I could. So I just gave it to him. And I did things like that even in childhood. So for me, I mean, for that to happen, it's a homeless person, that's a very common thing, they do that. So, anyway, I don't see how that is a threat on passengers, how anybody's life was at risk from a homeless man that was just asking people for money. It's not like he pulled a gun and was asking for money. So, anyway, I mean, and you always have the option of saying no. Mr. Neely was later found unconscious in the carriage and taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. His death resulted from the compression of the neck, the city's medical examiner ruled. Handcuffs behind his back, Mr. Penny appeared later on Friday at Manhattan Criminal Court to be formally charged. A judge set his bail at $100,000. Mr. Penny must return to court on the 17th of July, or a warrant will be issued for his arrest, the judge said. On the day of the indictment, Mr. Penny was questioned by police and then released. But the footage of the altercation on the northbound F train set off protest, and the Manhattan District Attorney's Office launched an investigation. Well, they should have done that right away. What got Daniel Penny arrested is public pressure, y'all. That's what got him arrested. If everybody would have stayed silent, he would have probably be free even to this day. It was public pressure, people raising issue about how this man walked away after murdering somebody. Mm, mm, mm. The video was captured by a freelance journalist on the train, shows the former Marine holding Neely around the neck for 2 minutes and 55 seconds. A journalist who filmed it told the New York Times Mr. Neely had shouted at passengers but did not attack anyone. He recalled Mr. Neely saying, "I don't mind going to jail and getting life in prison," before he was restrained. Okay, so, even the journalist said he was shouting, but he was not attacking anybody. A lot of homeless people do that. I've been on the streets and seen homeless people just standing and shouting, or, you can tell all their faculties aren't there. You can tell something is not right. One day I was in the bank and a homeless woman came in the bank and she was shouting, you know, and there were a lot of people in line. I was one of them. And one of the bank employees just kind of escorted her out. But she didn't hurt nobody, but she was in the bank shouting, you know? I mean, there were other ways you could have restrained him. It did not have to result in somebody getting choked. So, anyway, on Friday morning, Mr. Penny arrived in a black SUV at the police station in Manhattan to surrender to authority. They allowed him to surrender. Ain't that something? This is just unbelievable. Wearing a black suit, white shirt. He did not speak or answer any questions from reporters gathered outside. His attorney, Thomas Caniff, said his client willingly surrendered. He did so voluntarily and with the sort of dignity and integrity that is characteristic of his history of service. Oh my goodness. Mm-mm-mm. You murdered someone. I don't care what his history is. You murdered someone. Okay, so he faces a count of second-degree manslaughter, which carries a sentence up to 15 years in jail if convicted. And you just seen how reluctant the DA's office and the mayor were in New York. It was almost like they were handling this dude with kid gloves when he didn't even deserve that. So it just goes over his record in the Marines, but that has nothing to do with anything. And I'm not reading that. That has nothing to do with the murder that took place on that train in New York. So, no, I'm not gonna do that because they're just writing that stuff in to try to soften the blow, and there's no softening this blow. He's a murderer. He's a murderer. Y'all, please tell me what you think about this video. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.